Before we begin the episode, a reminder that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. You might have seen these green ribbons around. That's what that's to remind us of. On Pockets Full of Soup, we've talked a lot about mental health and mental illness. Well, that's because a lot of people are affected by mental health issues, either directly through suffering through mental illness, like I do, or indirectly by knowing or loving someone who deals with mental health issues. I encourage you to learn more about mental health. A good place to start is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, who have all kinds of amazing information and resources available. Learning more about something is the beginning of being able to do something. And I really just want you to go out and find out what you can. If you're suffering from mental illness right now, guess what? There is help to be found out there. And I encourage you to seek out knowledge, which can be the beginning of transformative change. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you have stories that you want to tell us, you can always send them to mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com. And now we're going to get on to another story that very directly talks about issues of mental health. I hope you'll enjoy. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pockets Full of Soup, the storytelling show. I'm your host, Jared Petty. I'm joined today by a special friend, a real treat, a delightful human being. Who are you?
Kallie Plagge.
That's right, you're Kallie Plagge. Where might folks know you from, Kallie Plagge?
I am formerly IGN, and I currently work at GameSpot.
Ooh, what do you do there?
I am an associate editor. I do video games, and I do anime. We have an entertainment channel that people might not be aware of, but it's called GameSpot Universe. We do it on YouTube, and I do an anime feature. I help produce, and I write, and I star in most of the time an anime feature pretty much every week.
I would dare say, yay anime.
Yay anime.
Yay anime forever. Close to my heart. All right. So anyway, besides what you do during your day job, what else do you enjoy, Kallie?
I really enjoy reading. I like historical nonfiction.
Oh, fun.
So I've been very slowly picking away at Devil in the White City, about the first serial killer in the U.S. That's actually, you know what? I'm beating around the bush. I love true crime.
Oh, okay. You're a true crime person. All right.
I love true crime, and I don't know what it is about murder that fascinates me, but I love hearing about why and what goes on with the psychology of somebody who does that. And I also like hearing about the person. I want to remember the person who's a victim, because I feel like if you're going to go in such a horrific way,
mm-hmm.
I would want to be remembered, not for that, but for who I was. And
okay.
I always like to learn a little bit about the victim in a not weird way.
So when you in the true crime story, you tend to gravitate toward the victim.
Well, not first. I always gravitate towards the psychology of the murderer.
The murderer, okay.
I always think it's fascinating, and I also love crime fiction. I mean, one of my favorite stories is Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
And it actually, when I was a kid, when I was a senior in high school, I wanted to join the FBI because of that movie.
Because of the film. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you read the novel or watch the movie first?
I watched the movie first.
Okay.
And I've been wanting to read the novel, and it's one of those, I don't have time because I want to do so many things. But yeah, so I was always very fascinated with that. And I'm secondarily fascinated in the person who catches the criminal.
Okay.
That's the second thing I focus on. And then the last thing I focus on is, what about the people who are affected by this? What is that human story?
And so you follow up on the victim in that. I can't remember who it was who said that about Hannibal Lecter. It was a commentator somewhere that said, if you met him at a party, you would want him to like you. And I thought that end of that, because that's not a true crime story. That's a bit of fantasy, but it is tied into a lot of true crime serial killer events. And you talked about Devil in the White City. Oh my gosh. Have you been to Chicago to the Field Museum or any of that?
I have. My dad's from Chicago. I go pretty much every year to Chicago.
So you have been to the last standing building from the White City.
I have. I've been Chicago is my favorite city for museums.
No kidding.
Yes. Whenever I travel, I go to museums in every city I go to. I have to, unless I'm working in a city. So, if I'm...
Me too. Yeah. I'm sorry, very excited. But I love museums so much.
I love museums. So when I went to the UK, when I graduated high school, I mean, that was where every city we went to, I was like, I need to hit up the Fashion Museum in Bath. I need to hit up, the Natural History Museum in London.
Okay.
So in Chicago, I went to the Art Museum where they have that painting, and I always forget the name because it's in French and I don't speak any French at all. The painting of the park from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
How do you say the painting of the park from Ferris Bueller's Day Off in Nihongo?
Oh God! Don't ask me that.
Park is Koen, right?
Koen no. What's the word for painting?
For painting? I don't remember the word for painting.
I don't remember the word for painting.
Yeah, that's...
I'm sure it's in that textbook in the background.
We could run and grab that. I don't remember the word for painting.
Koen no something.
Yep.
I remember
when I had been in Japan for like 5 days. I remember I was looking for. There's a place called Monkey Park. It's a primate zoo.
Love it.
That was near our. We lived up in Seki, and it was not too far from there. And it is the world's largest primate zoo. We didn't have any money, but it was close to our new place, and we arrived, worked for like 1 week, and then our school went on break. So we're like, well, we want to see Japan. We don't have any money yet, so let's go to Monkey Park. Mm-hmm. So we're wandering around. We don't speak any Japanese. Saru is monkey. Koen is park. So we're asking about, and we don't even know enough to phrase it right. So we're literally saying Saru Koen, which is not going to make any sense to anybody.
Yeah.
And we're wandering around Inuyama going, Saru Koen? Saru Koen? Asking people, and they're just looking at us like, who are you people, and why are you wandering around, and what do those words mean?
Nani o?
And finally, after about an hour of looking for this supposedly huge zoo, we come across an old man. He looks like he's in his 80s with his wife, and we're trying to talk to them in Japanese, and they're very politely responding, and we're trying, and finally my wife in desperation goes, monkey? And the gentleman goes, oh, monkey center, monorail, follow me. In perfect English.
My God.
So we just walk along, and it takes us to a monorail train that leads up to this giant monkey zoo.
And you've been trying so hard to speak Japanese. And
yeah, he's just like, no, he
speaks
speaks great English. He's just wonderful. He's just like, he's just being polite, It's not much of a story, but...
I feel like that would happen to me. I would be like, honto gomen, sumimasen, chotto, ano... And I would like do that for a while, and then finally someone would be like, English, and I'd be like, oh God, thank you.
Yeah, you speak like 20 times better Japanese than I do.
I have a good ear for accents, I think is what it is. Mm-hmm. My vocabulary, I think my grammar is better than my vocabulary.
Yeah.
To be honest. I'm so bad with vocabulary. I'm very grammar focused.
Okay.
I always was, which is why I love copy editing. So
I could speak it well enough to get by, but never well. And never had any skill at writing it. I'm always amazed to see you. Yeah, you get down to your kanji.
I love learning kanji.
Yeah, you're really good at that.
I love doing drills. I mean, when I did karate in high school, I loved doing forms because it was just sort of like you memorize and then you iterate and you execute and you
like
learn.
kata?
Yeah, like kata.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was actually better at sparring. But when I was a teenager, I was very rigidly Ravenclaw. Very Hermione. So I was like, I like kata. And then I realized that I was good at sparring, and I was like, never mind. I like kicking dudes in the head.
By the way, if we don't say anything, we're going to get 20 comments. We know that Hermione's not Ravenclaw. We just know she should have been.
No. Oh my God. Yeah. If someone tries to explain Harry Potter to me in the comments, right. I have a horse in Zelda named Thestral. He has a monster bridle and a monster saddle.
Nicely done. And you can see him because in Zelda you've died hundreds and hundreds of times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen many deaths because you've been alive for 100 years.
Okay. So.
Anyway, you knew that.
Yeah, you know it like the first minute.
Yeah.
But still.
That is not a spoiler.
No.
No, but anyway, yeah, no, Hermione definitely, of the three, of Ron, Harry, and Hermione, is the one who has the typical Ravenclaw traits, and that's the whole thing in Harry Potter, is that you can have the traits but still belong to another house.
Well, she definitely has the heart of a Gryffindor, but
yes.
She also has the mind and disposition in many ways of a Ravenclaw, so it could have gone either way, much like Harry and Slytherin.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm on the border between Ravenclaw and Slytherin. I'm very ambitious.
I am 105% Slytherin.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. To the
not
core.
a Slitherpuff?
No, I'm not a Slitherpuff. Don't
There's
this
nothing.
interview is over.
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with the Hufflepuff.
So this interview is over. House loyalty. What's your Harry Potter house? Let us know. Actually, do let us know in the comments.
I would love to know.
Yeah, and tweet us. Tweet it. Kelly, what's your Twitter?
Inky Dojiko, INKYDOJIKKO. I haven't gotten to do that in a while.
And I'm Petty Comma Jared, PettyCommaJared. So yeah, let us know what house you're a part of and why. I'd love to know what makes that up. Now, to get to that kind of kickoff question for Pockets Full of Soup that's always the same until I decide to change it, which I occasionally do every now and then. But today we're going Pockets Full of Classic here. So, Kelly, tell me about somebody you're thankful for.
All right. So I've been thinking about this since you started doing Pockets. And I went through a lot of people that matter to me. And people matter to me more than anything else. And part of that is coming from a place in my childhood where I didn't really know exactly how to relate to people very well and had trouble with that. So my relationships are the most important thing to me. And so I put a lot of thought into this. And the person I really want to talk about is very complicated. I want to talk about my first boyfriend.
Your very first
My
boyfriend?
very first boyfriend. I didn't date in high school, so I was 18. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I'm talking about somebody who's 12 years old. Okay. So you started dating your first boyfriend when you were 18 years old? When I was 18.
Okay.
In college. I went to UC Berkeley, and he lived on my floor. And it's very complicated. And I want to stress that I don't mean this in a romantic relationship sense. I mean this in an interpersonal human relationship sense. This is a relationship, as far as a connection between two people goes, that was very impactful on my life and my life trajectory. And that is why I wanted to talk about him.
So less from the magnitude of the romance and more from the magnitude of the human interaction that took place. And okay, yeah, let's start here. What's his name?
I would not like to say.
Okay, well, what are we going to call him? How about that?
That's a good question. What's a name?
What's a name? How about Bob?
Bob's perfect.
Okay, let's talk about Bob. Yeah. So we'll go forward here. So you met him when you were 18 years old. Now you mentioned you didn't date beforehand. Do you mind me asking why?
I have really bad anxiety, and that really impeded my ability to kind of put myself out there. I mean, it still does to a much, much lesser extent. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I just was overcome with anxiety about it.
Okay, so the thought of going out on a date with someone, the thought of approaching someone about attraction.
I mean, I also, because of the anxiety, I had very low self-esteem, and I didn't really think I was deserving of any of that sort of attention. So, and I definitely get like that to this day, where I'm like if I find out anybody that I think is cute has a crush on me, I'm like, do you need glasses? I mean, I have been fighting that for a very long time, and it's getting a lot better, but I still have that
impulse is still there.
So it was very bad when I was in high school, and I did not feel like I deserved any of that.
When someone turned attention your way before you met Bob, what was that like?
That's another thing. There was somebody in my creative writing class when I was a junior year who wanted to go out with me, and I basically froze completely. I couldn't talk to him. Mm-hmm. And that happened a couple times where somebody expressed interest in me, and I absolutely shut down completely. And I don't do that anymore. I feel like in relationships I seem very tsundere when I'm not, because of the shyness. So I'm very much like, don't even look at me. But it's not like I like you or anything sort of deal. It's more like, I don't want you to know that I have feelings, because feelings are embarrassing. So
well, for those who don't know tsundere, can you give us the quick definition?
Yeah, the very brief definition is somebody who has a very hard exterior but is a soft bunch of goo on the inside. So a tsundere might look at you and be like, "Oh, you disgusting dog," but then on the inside be like, "I love you so much."
The Cadbury egg of people.
Exactly.
Right there. So
I'm more just hard on my sleeve kind of person, but I'm very shameful about it.
Okay. But something changed, because you go to college, you start your freshman year, mm-hmm. You're 18 years old, mm-hmm. And you're at Berkeley, right?
I was. So
Okay,
I started at UC Berkeley as a chemistry major. I applied into the College of Chemistry, which is the top chemistry school in the US. I had taken AP chemistry. I was a chemistry TA. And so I was teaching chemistry my senior year. And I wanted, like I said earlier, I wanted to join the FBI. I wanted to do
Forensic science?
I wanted to do forensic investigation. And I never watched everyone always because of CSI. And I was like, no, I pretty much only watched documentaries about forensic science. I was
So you're a chemist.
I was.
What's the most fun thing you ever chemistry-fied? I'm sure that's a word.
Oh, when you explode methane bubbles.
Oh, methane bubbles explode?
Right. Well, when you put fire on them. So we had to rig this meter stick, yardstick.
Okay.
Whatever they're called. And
some unit of measure.
Some long stick with notches in it. Put a candle on the end, light the candle, hold it up to a methane bubble, and the methane bubble would explode.
Wow. Don't do this at home, kids.
Don't do it, not in a chemistry lab, but your chemistry teacher might do it for you.
Whoa, okay.
Take
exciting.
chemistry, study.
So, back to Bob. We're at the dorm and something changes.
So we're at the dorm.
You've expressed, shutting down when people approach you, a paralyzing difficulty in approaching others. But then you go off to school at Berkeley, you're there in the dorm, and there's this guy in the building with you. So what changed, Kallie?
Well, one of the things was, it was sort of, situational, because my roommate was somebody I knew in high school, and she, liked to kick me out because she met a guy, and started dating him pretty much immediately. And that wasn't a judgmental thing. It's just a fact. But she would then be like, he's staying over because his dorm's really far away. So you need to find another place to sleep.
Can you leave so we can have sex in our dorm room?
Exactly. Which happened.
Don't go to college. That's the lesson here.
Don't stay in school. Because your roommate will have a lot of sex and make you leave.
There's a lot of truth to that. Anyway, please continue.
Yeah. No, it was just very frequent. It was usually overnight. So,
where did you go?
I would sleep in the common room for a while. The reason I talked about chemistry is because I was in the science dorm. So it was like a specific kind of dorm setup. And he was one of the only other people in the dorm who, or one of the only people in the dorm who wasn't in a science major.
Okay.
I say other because I ended up not pursuing chemistry. But so he was studying economics or wanted to study economics. And we bonded over video games, which, so this is going to be a kind of a roundabout thing. I had pretty much stopped playing video games in the mid to late 2000s because I was working on getting into college, and I wanted to go to Caltech very badly, and I didn't get in.
But a lot of cramming, a lot of preparation.
I think my senior year I got 8 to 10 hours of sleep a school week.
Oh my gosh, Kallie.
I had really bad insomnia. That's when my depression really started. And the depression resulted in insomnia. And I'm very open about my depression and anxiety. If you follow me in any sense, you've probably seen me tweet about it. So,
don't worry about that here. Plenty.
I'm
that's
very open.
Something we talk about on the show quite a bit, actually.
Absolutely an open book about that, because I want to be, for somebody else, the person that I could have used. And that's sort of what this story is about. So my depression started my senior year, and being kicked out of my room all the time was not helping. And so I started to play games more, and kind of retreat back into it. And I had played games a lot as a kid. My parents play games. So there's a big gap, not a big gap, but there's a gap of a couple years where there's games I'm still catching up on, because I didn't play for school. So I started in my dorm. I was playing Portal 2. That's going to tell you how young I am. This was 2011. So I'm playing Portal 2, and a group of guys, including Bob, walk by, and they hear Gladys, and my door's wide open. I'm the only person in sight, and they're all looking around like, where's this voice coming from? And I was like, hey. And they immediately were like, what?
Wait, was it because you were playing a game?
Yeah. It was very much, they were not expecting that. Because I was the girl with the Pink Floyd poster on my wall.
Girls play games?
At the time I thought maybe it was that. Now I'm thinking maybe it was because I just didn't seem when me and my roommate moved in, my old roommate, because she and I were very close before college happened.
Yeah.
We were blasting Zeppelin. We were putting up our. I had a Pink Floyd poster. She had a Zeppelin poster. The Wall is a very important album to me because of mental health stuff.
Okay.
So I had a Mother Should I Trust the Government poster. We also had like an Audrey Hepburn poster, and like so we just like kind of looked like
your dorm room and my dorm room looked a lot alike. I had Audrey Hepburn and Led Zeppelin as well, I believe.
Yeah, we had the
so
V-Day Kiss.
nice.
I had a Stephen Colbert poster, I think.
You had the V-Day Kiss and the Stephen Colbert poster side by side.
Oh, no, we had
This is the most 2011 dorm room ever.
Yeah.
That's kind of fantastic.
Yeah.
So they hear you playing Portal, and there's Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we started hanging out. They invited me to go to the dining hall with them, and we started just hanging out as a floor, and we all became friends. And then Bob and his roommate would take me, and they let me sleep on their floor when my roommate kicked me out, which is very frequent.
So because there were other people involved around Bob, was it easier?
Yes.
Okay,
because I didn't initially see it as, oh, we're totally going to start dating. It was more like, I'm making friends. I have a hard time with this as it is, and these people are nice, and we all like nerdy stuff. We would watch Maury on Tuesdays because all of us had lab, and we had a weird gap on Tuesdays, and we called it Tuesdays with Maury. And so it was just like we all had like these.
There is no forgiveness for you.
I know. We got each other. We're all damned to hell, clearly. So eventually we started dating, and it was definitely like I was forced by my roommate's actions into the situation where these two dudes would take me in basically and let me sleep on their floor.
Okay.
And then from there we got closer, and he started showing more interest in me. Okay. And that's when I gained the confidence to kind of accept that that's what was happening.
Okay, because so you were sort of eased into it by the comfort of a sort of a narrowing group of friends, genuine friendliness.
Yeah.
So what about that transition from friendship to relational intimacy in a dating sense? How did that happen?
It was very slow. It was extremely slow.
Were you drawn to him in that way?
It's hard to tell because since I've gained a better understanding of what that means for me as like an individual, I mean, this was very much like I don't know myself. I don't know who I am or what I need, and this works. And so it was a very long time before we like really. I mean, everybody knew, but that we were like seeing each other. But it was a very long time before we really got into like a relationship rhythm, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about when you before we let me ask you this: what about this gentleman drew you to him? Tell me about Bob. We know that Bob's the kind of person that hangs out with his friends at a dorm and invites you to his room. We know he lets you sleep on his floor, and we know that he likes Gladys and appreciates Pink Floyd posters. Tell us about him a little bit.
I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago, and it hasn't been that many years, but so much has changed for me, and this is basically the impetus of that. But that beginning time is very distant, and I mean, like, I'll listen to music that I listened to at that time, and I'll kind of go back to that. But it was very much common interests, and then he recognized things about me and things in me that when he voiced that to me, it made sense.
Can you give me an example?
Right. So the main crux of this story is that he is the person, after over a year of being miserable, said, "I think you have depression."
After a year of seeing you miserable, you mean? Is that...
Well, after a year of everyone I cared about seeing me miserable, I met him.
Okay.
And it was spring, so it's spring of 2012. He said, "I think you have depression."
So he had known you at that point for
6 months.
Okay, about 6 months.
Yeah.
When did he tell you this?
It was midway through spring semester.
Where were you at?
We were like definitely dating, solidly dating. I think he'd met my parents, and we'd gone to visit his family, and like it was very much like, oh, we're in this. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was having a very hard time getting out of bed. I slept a lot. I had a hard time going to class and feeling motivated, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do because I didn't like chemistry, and I was taking computer science and I liked it, but I struggled a lot with having the energy and like mental capacity, because when you're really depressed you have this mental fog a lot of the time, and that's very much where I was, and so it was very hard for me to think. It was like thinking through molasses is how I always described it. It took me way too long, and I was terrified that I was like losing my intelligence, and like I said, I was 100% a Hermione, and I thought that I was losing everything that made me me, and it was very terrifying. So,
and Bob looks at you and says, "I think you're depressed."
Yeah.
Had you considered it before that?
No, but I looked back at old journals from the end of my senior year of high school, and there's one entry. I was getting ready to leave for the UK, and I talked about going to the UK, but that was I need to go back because that was a trip tainted by that depressive episode that lasted years. And I found this journal entry that was like, I think I said, I sort of don't care if I die in England. And because I did not want to go back to home and go back to have to start college. And at the time I didn't think of that as a red flag. And obviously that is a huge red flag. And so it hadn't occurred to me. I thought, and everybody thought, my parents thought that I had senioritis because I had been this hardworking, staying up late, AP classes, Hermione, my whole life. And they thought, she's just very tired. She's just burnt out.
Right.
And I just didn't know. And that's why I talk about it now, is because if I had heard somebody articulating these things, I would have been able to recognize it a lot sooner, I think. And so he was the person who looked at me and saw through that and liked the core of me as I was then, but was able to recognize that there was something wrong and something off. And he said, I think you should see somebody.
When somebody you're in your first relationship with, this is somebody that this is your, whatever we first love, you're the first person you've ever been in a relationship with, somebody you're very close to, looks at you and says, I think you're depressed. I think you may need to see somebody. What's it like hearing that?
I remember trying to rationalize why that wouldn't be right. And then I remember thinking maybe there's something there. And I remember Googling furiously. I was like, well, maybe it's bipolar because, I'm not always depressed. Like, I didn't understand that, like, depression wasn't sadness.
Right. You'd never studied the illness before.
No. And I just didn't get the proper education on it. So I thought depression meant you're always sad. And I knew that wasn't true because I had a great time with my friends and we were always laughing. We'd play Mario Kart and scream at each other. And then the RA would come and be like, you guys need to quiet down. And we were the loud floor, like, because we were always playing Mario Kart or Mario Party or something. And then Dark Souls came out and then everyone was yelling all the time, and I
love that you chronicle your memories with the volume level of your game interactions.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of fantastic. The mental indexing going on here is fantastic.
Absolutely.
But you hear that, so were you angry with him?
No, not at all. I was very hesitant. I thought that can't be right because I still laugh and there must be something else. Okay. And then I started to look into depression more, and depression as someone I was eventually diagnosed later that year. I describe it as the void of feeling. It's not sadness. It's not I'm just sad because something bad happened to me. It's like there were times where I would sit in that window and stare at nothing, and I would feel nothing for hours. And I would sit there, and it wasn't like I was feeling sad. It's like this quiet melancholy. And it's something that some games lately have been capturing for me. So Night in the Woods has this sort of just this stoic, it's not sad, it's not angry, it's just kind of like when you listen to a rainy day song and you kind of go blank, and that's your existence. And part of that, I think part of the reason I got that way was because my anxiety was
Sorry.
my anxiety was so severe. I think I've been diagnosed with two separate disorders, so social anxiety and generalized anxiety.
Okay.
And I think I can trace those back to about age 8.
Okay.
So for 10 years, I lived with untreated anxiety, and I actually trained myself because I would have panic attacks regularly,
Yeah.
like several times a week. And for me, a panic attack was sobbing, hysterical crying, because if I got one answer wrong at age 8, if I missed a question on my homework, that was the end of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of it was because I was very ambitious and I always wanted to do my best. But most of it was the anxiety. And so I actually, because it became so humiliating to have those, I mean, I would have them in class.
Yeah.
And no teacher ever went to my parents and said that Kallie has been overreacting. So it was always like, well, she's probably going to start her period, right? She's 12.
And
like, honestly.
Do you think that was was it a lack of education and context on the part of the educator? Was it
I got a lot of it was, she's just a very sensitive girl.
Mm-hmm.
And
so here you are, 18 years old. You've gone this long in your life, 19 years old maybe by this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob looks at you and says, no, I think it's something very different.
Yeah. And I realized I had trained myself to not cry. And I didn't cry for a very long time. And I was reading about depression and about that absence of feeling, about that brain fog. And I gave myself the vocabulary to articulate that to the psychiatrist. And so that was the first step was him telling me, I think you're depressed. The second step was me understanding what that meant and how to articulate the lack of feeling, articulate the experience, because it's not emotions. It's the same thing as having any other sort of chronic illness. And so getting that vocabulary was very important in advocating for myself.
Okay.
And then I talked to my parents and I said, I think I'm depressed. And my mom said, when are you going to get your shit together? And I mean, it just took a lot of education to get them to a place where they understood what was going on with me. And now our relationship is fantastic, but it was very, very hard.
How long did it take you to reconcile with the medical reality? From the time that Bob talked to you to the time that you really embraced the treatment and began to understand what was happening in your life?
A long time.
Yeah.
I still have never been to a psychiatrist I like. I don't like how they talk to me. I always feel condescended to in a psychiatrist's office. It took me a long time, and therapy was really the thing that helped me the most. Okay. And it took me a while to find a therapist I liked, and I still see her in Berkeley.
For people who aren't familiar with psychiatric treatment, can you explain the difference between a psychiatrist and a therapist in brief?
Right. So the technical difference is that a psychiatrist is an MD, so they can prescribe medication. But basically, the appointment is with a therapist. You usually go for an hour and talk through something. And so at the very beginning, it was talking through like what is going on with you, where do you think that comes from, and kind of delving into why, like, where do you think this anxiety started? And I talked about, I remember being 8, and a psychiatrist is very, almost the ones I have been to, and this is obviously just my experience, but much more sterile, and the appointments are much shorter, and they're not really asking you about the deeper meaning of what's going on. It's very much like, well, are you eating?
Yeah,
Are you sleeping?
psychiatrists deal with it. They'll often refer you to therapists. Some psychiatrists do perform therapy, but not
Some do.
so many.
Yeah.
I've been lucky on psychiatrists, actually, and that's, but it is a different experience. But you found help in therapy, which is the process of working directly in conversation with someone. There are different schools of that and different systems,
Right.
and it's helped you. I'm going to take a second. I want to go back to this Bob guy.
Yes. Yeah. So that was an aside, but
No,
basically,
no, it's not an aside. It's a very important part of the story because this is what this gentleman helped you understand. What did that come to? I mean, what happened after with you and Bob?
So he also had anxiety problems for different reasons, and reacted very differently to anxiety than I did. A very different kind.
Was he diagnosed at the time that he talked with you?
I don't recall, but he also had a medical condition. So he did take, he was going through the process of finding medications, I remember, and getting anxiety medications, whereas I was looking for antidepressants, which are very different medications. Right. That spring, so my second semester of college, he withdrew. At Berkeley, you can withdraw and then re-enroll in the next semester, and you don't like fail all your classes. And you can do a medical withdrawal. So I think he did a medical withdrawal, which can be done for any number of reasons. So you can be like, I got a horrible disease and I have to withdraw, and then you can be readmitted. So it's not like you're quitting or anything.
No, just stepping away for a little while to deal with things that need dealt with.
Exactly. And I'm sure a lot of universities have this. It's just I don't know what they're called at other universities. So I ended up withdrawing that semester as well, and that started a trend of me never having a successful spring semester. But so we both withdrew. And we almost broke up. At that point, I considered breaking up with him because of a bad experience around that time. But we did not break up. And
was he thinking that was a good idea as well? Or?
No, he did not want to break up.
He didn't want to break up, but you did.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about why?
No.
Okay. So you're together, but things are kind of rocky. And you're both stepping away from school temporarily.
And he lived about 2 hours away from where I was from. So we were able to see each other that summer. And that summer, I was upset with pretty much every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how depression is. He said, you really like to write. Have you thought about starting a blog on IGN?
Did he write there ever?
No.
So why did he suggest that for you? Had you brought it up
He
before?
was an IGN fan.
Okay.
And he knew I liked video games.
Yeah.
And I was getting back into video games after a hiatus. And he said, why don't you blog? So I made an account, which is still my IGN account. When I was there, it's Kasumi.
About when was this? 2012, right? Okay.
Yeah. So
you just decided to go. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
In 2012, I started blogging on IGN. We watched the E3 presentations together that year.
Aw.
And I wrote about Nintendo.
Okay.
And then from there, I wrote a lot about, a lot of like early video game feminism was happening, if that makes sense. That beginning of feminist frequency and early discussions of things that, it's been 5 years and I've since evolved my opinions very greatly. But
you were writing there about
I
them.
wrote on IGN about those things, about sort of the hot button topics in gaming. And I was 19. And I still am friends with people I met through the blogging community. And it was a fantastic experience. And that brought me into the world of gaming. And from there, I started taking Japanese classes. And I started getting back into anime.
Yeah.
which I had not been into since I was in middle school. I was terrified that people would find out I was a nerd.
And you're in therapy this whole time,
yes,
as well. So.
Yes, with a different therapist. So I hadn't yet started seeing my new therapist, who I adore.
Right. But you're in that process. You're writing.
I'm
you're
in the process.
doing anime.
I'm still very much not in a good place at this point in time. Okay. In 2012. And it's weird talking about, and the reason I say that this feels like a world ago, a lifetime ago, is because depression often impairs your memory. And so that time does not feel like proper memories, if that makes sense. They feel distorted. So I feel like I'm looking at these memories through this weird, warped glass, if that makes sense. So I remember all these things. I mean, I'm not like, I don't remember what I was doing in 2013. I mean that it just feels like a dream. It doesn't feel like me. It feels like that was somebody else almost, that I'm almost watching somebody else's life.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of memories from depression, or even when they're happening for that matter, kind of feel like you're living in a Twin Peaks episode.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you look back and it's like, I watched the Twin Peaks episode a decade ago, and my memory of real life is kind of like my memory of that episode I watched a decade ago. There's these pieces that are just kind of fuzzy. And
I mean, if you are not familiar with the term dissociating, it's very much like you kind of recede back into your skull almost. And I do this sometimes. Now I sort of do it to relax, just because it's something I've been doing for years. But like I'll listen to like beach house, like electronic music, and I'll just like zone out.
It is the psychological embodiment of the Homer Simpson hedged gif.
Yes.
Like
it's me. So if you picture me now with all this fantastic energy listening to beach house and zoning out, it's like that times 1,000. So
I'm sorry I'm laughing.
And but it's funny.
That's a lucid metaphor.
Like, it is. I don't like, it sounds like I'm talking about weed, and I'm not, because it's like I stay away from weed honestly because of that, for the most part.
But it's California, it's legal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not my jam.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, generally, but so it's hard to say. It's hard to really stick a fork in the timeline here, but I do it by video games, and I do it by songs, and I do it by apartments.
Okay.
So when I was 19, I moved into a new apartment. This was around the time that I stopped eating. So this is where it gets complicated. So I ate probably 500 or fewer calories a day.
Do you, if you don't mind me asking, why? What began this change in
my appetite was gone. The medication they gave me, the antidepressant they gave me, was not working.
Okay.
And since talking to newer psychiatrists, they've been like, they prescribed you that first.
Well, psychiatric. Same people don't react to the drugs the same way. It's odd, and then
very
people
complicated.
Just make mistakes as well too sometimes.
Absolutely.
Prescribe. So
I mean,
happens.
A lot of it is trial and error.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, you can make a guesstimate about, this medication usually has this effect. Let's try it. And if it doesn't work, let's do something else. And so I was doing something that was basically ineffective. So I'm still very depressed. I'm still, having anxiety problems. And they're really, really interfering with my ability to go to class. If I miss one class, I miss 10 because I am terrified of not being prepared for the next class. And I mean, it was a vicious cycle to the point where like my last year of college, I was having panic attacks in class because I was worried about missing class. It was just horrible.
It had just gotten to a place where it's not only unmanageable, but it's just eating at you from every side and snowballing.
Absolutely. So this was the beginning of it really, because my freshman year, I was able to still go to class. My first semester, I passed all my classes. I did my homework, and it just continued to decline. So sophomore year, I'm in a new apartment. We're still dating. He's sort of like down the street. And I'm in a one room with 4 girls. So we have 4 beds in one room. And so I stay at his place all the time because I need to get out of there.
Yeah.
I build a gaming
There seems to kind of be a theme in your relationship that you're escaping from your roommates.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I build a gaming PC, and I get into that more. I did all the research, and I built a PC, and I was very proud of myself. I was also very insecure about abandoning the sciences. So it was my last, like, I'm still smart, which I have since reconciled.
You're still writing at this point?
Yes, I'm blogging. I start taking journalism classes, and I applied for the Daily Californian, which is UC Berkeley's award-winning student paper.
Ooh.
So I started writing about video games for the arts and entertainment department at this time. So I'm making headway in my career still. I'm not in a bad place, but I am eating very little, and I lose about 20, 25 pounds.
Oh my.
This is the lightest I've been since I finished growing.
Well, eating 500 calories a day is very dangerous.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't, part of it was my appetite was just not there.
Yeah.
I would eat a thing of spinach and a nectarine, and that I was done for the day. And part of the problem was Bob was too encouraging about my appearance at that point. Very like, you look so fantastic, and not more concerned about how little I was eating. Okay. And so that negative reinforcement, a lot of toxic ideas about attractiveness and relationship dynamics, and definitely reinforced like, you look so hot now. Mm-hmm. So like, nice babe. And that is something I'm still very much recovering from.
Do you think he understood that?
No. I mean, I think it's very hard for people who don't experience body, any sort of body, anything, to really understand in a lot of ways. But I don't think he understood that his role in it either.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was wondering, actually. I wonder if he understood what was happening in the relationship dynamic there.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Did you guys ever talk about it?
I don't think so.
So a lot of things are happening here. It's getting complicated. The relationship's not where you want it. Life is not.
It is and it isn't, though, because he's somebody I need. I need him to escape from living situations that I can't handle being in, because no one wants to live with somebody who's horribly depressed, and a depressed person doesn't want to live with people who don't want them around. Mm-hmm. So
was Bob accepting of the symptoms of your depression and the effect that had on your lives?
Absolutely. I mean, he himself dealing with mental health stuff, that was one thing he was always very supportive of. And that's something that still terrifies me as somebody with anxiety. I'm like, one thing that terrifies me is, what if I get back into this place ever? The other thing is, what if I find somebody who I adore, who adores me, and then they find out, or they have their first run-in with a panic attack, and they go, oh God, just kidding, goodbye.
I have been married for 15 years, and a good portion of that time with a chronic clinical depression diagnosis, and the ailment was there long before the diagnosis. I have some clue what you're talking about there. Mm-hmm. And that fear is complicated, terrifying, and very real, and it's you never get away from it, or I never did. I can't speak for what happens to everybody, but I still wake up at night staring at the ceiling going, oh no, what if I screw this up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it can be difficult to be close to somebody when they're suffering.
It can. I think that the best thing that therapy has done for me is help me learn how to suffer proactively, if that makes sense. So I now know, like, I had a really bad weekend the other weekend, and I was being bonkers. Like, I knew it too. Like, I was reacting to a situation, and I was like, this person doesn't want me around, and they're so annoyed with me. And you know what? If they're so annoyed with me, then I'll just tell them that. And then I knew that was not what was happening in reality.
Okay.
I've gone through enough and been through enough therapy to recognize when I'm spiraling and when my view of reality has been distorted by the anxiety or the depression. Yeah. So I think that's the best thing therapy has done for me, is then I was able to reach out to a close friend, say, hey, my brain's doing this right now.
Okay.
I'm very tempted to text this person this thing that I shouldn't say. Can you like reality check me, please?
Yeah.
And this person was like, don't do that.
That would.
What if you said this proactive thing instead? and then guess what? I texted the thing that my friend said to text, and everything worked out.
Everything worked out okay. Excellent. Two things about that story. First, that's excellent anecdote and wonderful advice. Second, your helpful friend voice is almost exactly the same as your Andrew Goldfarb impression voice. And
it's funny because that friend is Andrew Goldfarb.
Are you serious?
Yes,
that's really good.
The person I talked to was Andrew Goldfarb.
That's really good. Okay, that's kind of wonderful because that was your Andrew impression voice.
Was that my Andrew voice?
Was your Andrew impression voice. I was like, oh my gosh, she sounds just like what you said, Andrew.
It was Andrew. It was Andrew.
That's delightful.
I was like, Andrew, help, and he was like, it okay, and yeah.
That's delightful. That makes me happy. Let's go. So, in the course of college, so many things happening. Where does it go, Kallie? What happens?
Okay, so fast forwarding. Obviously, now I'm okay, so I'll spare you all of that. But 2013, he and I go to E3.
So you guys have been together 2 years at this point.
Yeah, we were together over 2 years.
Okay, it's a long relationship. 2
and almost a half years.
Okay.
So yeah, very long, very dependent relationship. We were basically each other's only friends after a while.
Okay.
And so, like I said, this is very complicated, and I mean this in very much like how this person affected my life, more so than the relationship itself, because there were a lot of problems with it. And so we go to E3. I meet up with a friend from the IGN blogs.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to E3 because I've been writing about video games for the Daily Cal. I get bumped up to assistant arts and entertainment editor for the summer semester. And I'm making a lot of progress in my writing career, and I'm learning a lot about the process of writing. So I go to E3, I meet up with a friend from the IGN blogs, and she is talking to me about how she wants to break up with her boyfriend. And I know her boyfriend. And so she's like, I just don't, and they've been together for around the same amount of time I had been with Bob.
Okay.
So that was what started the process of thinking, because she was talking about how, like, he wants to do this kind of thing and I still want to do this kind of thing, and I feel like he thinks he has to babysit me and blah blah blah. And Bob was always like, I don't like it when you drink, don't drink. Mm-hmm. And so she had sort of this similar thing where she was like, I want to go out and drink with my friends, and he always acts like that's the biggest burden in the world. Mm-hmm. And that was the first catalyst where I was like, I started thinking about it.
You saw one relational comparison,
one common thing,
but that started you thinking about other things.
And I started thinking about, well, what other things are bad? What are not bad, not like torturous, but what other things are not right?
Not working?
Yeah. So I think about it for 6 months. In around Christmas time, I mean, we've all gone home from college. So this is the end of 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He has not given me my present yet. I gave him his, which is fine usually. A little bit after, around New Year's, I went to some sale or something with my brother, and I just like broke down because I realized I had to break up with Bob. And my brother tried to ask me about it, and I was like, I don't know. And then I realized I had to do it.
It was just a psychological examination, an accounting of all the things that were happening, and a realization that you two were not going to be happy together, or that you weren't happy together.
It was the realization that this was not healthy for either of us.
All right.
So I couldn't handle it anymore, and I called him, and I was like, we really need to talk. Like, he's 2 hours away, so I'm like, when can we do this?
Yeah. And do you think he knew?
Yeah, he knew immediately. And he drove down to meet me, and he gave me my present. And that was very somber, but this is one of my favorite anecdotes about my life, actually, because he gives me my present. I'm like so tired of the things that are not good and the overdependency and all these problems. And it's like a month late, he gives me a Vita and Persona 4 Golden. And I was like, I'm breaking up with you. I can't accept this. And he was like, but I got it for you.
No, you always take Persona 4 Golden when it's offered.
He was like, no, I got it for you. And I was like, dude, I really can't accept this. And he's like, no, I insist. And that is how I got my Vita and Persona 4.
Yeah, and that is always the correct answer. You may choose to give the ring back, but you keep the Vita and Persona 4 Golden.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I felt awful about it, but then I was also like, well, it was a month late. So, and
this was an amicable breakup? He was...
No, he fought really hard for it.
Yeah.
And I...
Why do you think that was?
I think it was we were very overdependent.
Yeah.
And because we had come from this place of vulnerability, meeting when we were 18, kind of like growing together, but in this sort of like the end of inside, just like, you know, not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Okay.
But I'm going to do a physics thing really quick. So one thing that in any space program that you'll see is like slingshotting.
Yeah.
Right. So like slingshotting whatever spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of how I feel like we were. The gravitational pull was too strong, and somehow I got out of it, and I was able to slingshot on my own path.
You got
that's
pulled
sort
out
of
and back around.
That is sort of how I see it in my mind. And so from then we break up at the beginning of 2014. I applied. Wait. Yes. No. Oh, we hadn't broken up yet. I had applied for an IGN position. I had gotten freelance work at IGN the summer of 2013. So
I remember that.
Yes. So after going to E3,
Met you that summer.
Yeah. So summer of 2013, I had started doing freelance reviews, and so I have gotten my trajectory, my career trajectory on track. And we break up at the beginning of 2014, and I continue to do freelance work until I get the job at the beginning of 2015. And so he is, despite all of the bad things, the person who both helped me discover my problem with depression, and not help me heal, but help me get on the path to managing it, help me at least identify what I needed to do. And then he was the person who helped me identify how I needed to change my conception of what my career could be. I was always like, I got to do science. That's what smart people do, and that's what good, strong women do. We do science. I'm a STEM girl. And I had all this internalized misogyny about how like the arts are below what, you know, you're conceding defeat. And that's never how I thought of other people, but that's how I thought of myself.
Yourself. Okay.
And so he is the person who did that who opened up a world that I had shut out, and gave me the career, the rewarding, rich career filled with people that are unmatched in value to my life and enjoyment and joy.
That is complex.
He is the person who opened that up to me.
So he helped open up the career. He helped open your heart and mind to what was going on with your anxiety and depression. And at the same time, he was not the person to be with at that time in your life.
Exactly.
Did you love him?
That's a complicated question. I think I did.
Yeah.
I think I did for a time.
Did he love you?
Yes.
Where is he now?
I don't know.
Yeah. People walk in and out of our lives, and stories, to make them palatable, are often, I think, oversimplifications of the way that relationships actually end up happening, romantic, fraternal, or otherwise. I really appreciate you sharing this one and this little slice of your life that's pretty darn big. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for letting me share it. I don't talk about it very often because it is so complex, and I'm very happy that I'm not in that time of my life anymore. And I'm very happy that I've moved past that relationship, and that who I was at that time, I'm far and away much happier and more satisfied with myself. But it's something that's very important, and I don't get to talk about it that often.
Before we move on, one last question, and this is more for the folks watching on camera, listening, etc. You mentioned finding yourself in a place in your relationship where you went, the dependencies are wrong here. This is not what needs to be happening. But it took a long time for that reality to become clear to you. You talked about that first conversation you had and the switch flipping. And for people who are in relationships and wondering about that, what's your advice on recognizing, defining health versus unhealth in that kind of situation?
I think the biggest mistake, the easiest mistake to make when you think you've found a relationship that's good is not understanding what good means. And I think a lot of people mistake the problem with this relationship was we spent almost all of our time together and we didn't have time to grow outside of one another. Time or room. So I didn't have a lot of friends. He was pretty much my only real friend for a very long time. And so my conception of myself was entirely tied to him, and then to a much lesser extent, my work. And when I shifted away from that relationship, I was able to gain a stronger sense of self and what my work meant to me. And I just think if you're with somebody who doesn't make you feel like the best version of yourself that you are, then that's not the right place to be. And I don't mean like, oh, they make me a better person because they give to charity and now I give to charity more, or like they make me go to the gym more because they're a gym rat. I mean like somebody who doesn't value the things about you that are you, and somebody who doesn't help you live up to those things, whatever they may be.
That makes sense. Thank you, Kallie. We're going to take the hard left turn that we usually take in the show here now at about this point, and we need to thank our Patreon producers, Nick Rie and Robert Nieder, whose generous support makes this show possible, as well as all of you who constantly give and support on Patreon. Bless you. Thank you, you wonderful, generous people, for keeping us on the air. I really appreciate it. It's extraordinary that you're willing to do this month after month. It means the world. We have these for anybody, whether they're on Patreon or otherwise. We have these nifty T-shirts that Max Scoville made. We're down in Max's basement right now.
I live in Max's basement.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Actually, is that
no,
okay?
Everybody knows I live in Max's basement.
Okay, yeah. So we're in Max's basement, and if
he's like my big brother.
It's a cute shirt. It says Tamago Sensei, which is what my students used to call me in Japan.
Because egg sensei.
Yeah, they thought I was very funny looking. I'm a funny looking man. But yeah, if you want one of these groovy shirts, you can take a look here on the screen, and it'll have the address where to find it. You can find it in the description for the show at all, etc. Or you can hop over to pocketsfullsoup.com or our Patreon page, find that. And going down the list, hey guys, we got a Facebook group and it's fun and nifty and neat. And
Facebook groups are fun.
Facebook groups are fun, and ours is a very friendly one. You're still in the Anime Club Facebook group.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
The late podcast IGN Anime Club still has a Facebook group, and that was like the most positive community experience I ever had on the internet.
That's still a pretty active community.
It is. Yeah. It absolutely. Podcast communities are fantastic. I
love them
because you get to know a person in a very unique way.
You
and
really do.
Yeah,
you get to know people. It's fantastic. We live magical dream lives in some ways, don't we?
I mean, I know I said my depression life was like remembering a dream, but this is a very different kind of living in a dream.
These are the good dreams. Yeah, you guys make so much possible for us. Thank you. Yes. Thank you from deeply for what you allow to happen. Now, I am pulling out the phone because we got a few instant noodles questions for you.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So we're going to start, before we get to the phone, we're going to start with my favorite instant noodles question. This was a community question. What is best sandwich?
What is best sandwich?
Yep.
Ooh.
What is best sandwich?
Ooh. Avocado BLT.
Ooh, that's a great one. Oh, yeah. So I like... California avocado. You're a California girl, right?
I am. I'm from Southern California.
Okay, so I had not experienced California avocado till I moved out here. And I liked avocado, I thought, but holy cow, they're just better here.
They are.
They're just better. And avocado on a BLT. If you think you don't like it, have one in California.
Melty, you get like a good jack cheese, maybe a pepper jack. You get the avocado. You get some crispy bacon.
Yeah.
You get light on the tomato. I like to do. I'll do a little bit of tomato. Tomato's an afterthought on my BLT.
Do you toast or not toast?
Toast.
Toast. Okay. All about toast. Yeah.
I mean, I can't make one. I go buy one.
You go buy one. What's the best place to get a avocado BLT around?
In San Francisco, Cafe Madeline.
Very good. Cafe Madeline, San Francisco. You heard it here first, guys.
Love Cafe Madeline.
What is best Pokemon?
Mimikyu.
What is best Pokemon type?
Ghost.
Create your own Pokemon modeled after the person you are most thankful for.
Oh, God. Normal type. And not competitively viable.
Okay, I'm making this one up. What Pokemon is Andrew Goldfarb?
Oh, Andrew's so moe. He's a Growlithe.
He's okay. And last one, cheese or fruit?
Who?
Huh?
Who would ask me that cheese?
Stephen Fortana asks this.
Cheese.
Cheese. All right, you're going for cheese.
Look, it's not good for you, but I don't think I could go a day without eating cheese.
What movie changed or affected your life the most?
It's
from Lauren Evans. Instant noodles. Gotta react. React.
I think the first movie that comes to mind, the first movie that like I thought actually affected me was American Beauty.
Oh, why American Beauty? What struck you about it?
The discomfort, and honestly, the thing about the plastic bag being beautiful messed with my teenage mind.
Okay, well, yeah, there is no better time to see that than when you're a teenager.
Exactly.
I agree with that. That's absolutely true. Yeah, that movie messed with me in about 7 different ways. I really like it a lot.
Absolutely, it just comes at you. I mean,
that moment when the asparagus crashes against the wall is, if you just ran that in a loop for 2 hours, that's kind of what American Beauty is emotionally. It's quite a film. Good choice.
Thank you.
Right here, Trevor Starkey asks, you could have any Pokemon follow you around in real life, a la Pikachu in yellow. Which would you choose?
Growlithe. Also Growlithe.
Okay. Is it the Andrew Goldfarb Growlithe?
No, a different one.
I was going to do a follow-up. If you could have any person follow you around in real life.
Probably Andrew.
Okay, there we go.
I'm his persona.
What is going on here? We're like 3 Andrews in a row tonight.
Andrew is one of my dearest friends, and we are like the same. We just are so similar.
Andrew is delightful. We need to get you and Andrew on a show together.
Oh my God, that'd be so good.
I love that. So yeah, I think that might be a family style thing.
That would be
like
great.
Something to do. Yeah. All right, we're gonna have to make that work. Let's see. Aside from anime, what are your thoughts on the cartoons from the newly released Disney Afternoon collection? Did you watch them?
I did not, but I did help edit that review today.
You did? You helped edit that review?
I get to do peer editing and then
Oh, fun.
But my thoughts on cartoons in general, because I heard thoughts on cartoons. Yeah. I live for cartoons, and I have a very lengthy, long knowledge of animated comedies made for adults. And I think about Mike Judge all the time.
That's the correct answer to any question, is I think about Mike Judge all the time. Expound.
My knowledge of animated cartoons made for adults in the West is way too large for my age. I started out watching Simpsons, went on to King of the Hill, dabbled in Beavis and Butthead, I've done a little bit of Venture Bros, Futurama. I obviously have done Rick and Morty, BoJack Horseman. I really like Archer. And then Bob's Burgers. I just watch a lot of animated comedies not made for children.
Do you subscribe to the correct theory that King of the Hill is secretly one of the best things to ever be made by people?
King of the Hill is so good.
Yeah, I love King of the Hill. Oh, and if you think, here's the thing about King of the Hill. I feel like everybody remembers watching half a dozen episodes and like, oh, those were pretty good. Well, but it was like that for like 13 years.
No, you remember, like, people remember like, whoa, and people remember propane and propane accessories.
Yeah.
But like, they're like so the there was one thing. I mean, they even touched on race. So like the what's her
They
name?
touch
Connie?
on everything.
Like her family, their dog's name is Puppy, and she's like trying to call the dog, and someone's like, no, it is a puppy, and it's just like assuming she doesn't speak English. And
That's
like I
right.
remember seeing that at a young age, and it like resonate like not
because
resonate.
she
it-
chose
it-
not to use an article because it was the dog's proper name.
Yes,
Right.
and it like
Oh,
I was like, oh my god, microaggressions. Like I understood microaggressions
Right
in a
there,
way
just
that I
boom.
never could as a white girl in
No.
a white town.
I like I think it's the guys at the Laser Time podcast pointed out, maybe even Chris Antista pointed out that the thing about Hank Hill is that he's a character that you feel like if we followed all the stereotypes would always make the awful self-centered nearsighted choices, but he loves everyone around him so much that he is willing to give up what he would go for first for the sake of his children or his child or his wife or his neighbor he will always change and learn something for the sake of the person around him, and that's what makes him great. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. That Hank screws up a lot, but he is always trying to be better, and it's very rare to have a TV show about someone who's always trying to improve.
Yeah, it really is.
And that's his thing.
I just love animation, you guys.
Yeah, animation's the best. Megan Sullivan asks, "Girl, why you so fierce?"
Years of practice.
Years of practice. That's happened.
No, it's fake it till you make it.
Okay. Greg Miller asked, "Do you know how badly? Oh, does she know how badly? Oh, this is Greg. Okay. Does
Greg,
she know how badly I beat her ass at Mario Kart?"
It's going down, Greg. You have no idea what you've signed up for. I will destroy you.
Are you and Greg gonna have a Mario Kart battle?
Oh yeah.
When's this happening?
As soon as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is out, I am way too confident in my Mario Kart skill, but for good reason. I've earned it.
Okay. Is this gonna be filmed? Like, are we gonna be able to watch this?
Yeah, I think he's streaming it.
Okay, that's delightful. I cannot wait.
Yeah,
I'll
we're also
try to-
doing. I've also I won an IGN Mario Kart thing. I won a bet in the GameSpot office about whether or not I could beat somebody at Mario Kart, and we are doing an in-office tournament that I will win. I'm so good at Mario Kart.
You know who's not good at Mario Kart is me, and you will always beat me because I love the game and I am not good at it at all, and I have never been.
Way too into Mario Kart.
Yeah, Mario Kart. Well, it's kind of glorious. It's absolutely wonderful.
It's time to fight.
Yep. What is
So-
the most terrifying creature in the natural world?
The natural world. Anglerfish.
Ooh. First person to say that. Okay, why?
Because their whole thing is they lure you with the promise of light to your death.
Uh-huh.
And have you seen their eyes
Yeah.
and their teeth? And maybe there was a Banjo-Tooie boss that was an anglerfish.
Do you know
I know. I didn't want to say it, and then I was gonna say. I know. Don't even. We're not gonna get into that. We're not gonna go there.
Stupid bear and that stupid bird. Do you know about the difference between male and female anglerfish?
I don't actually.
So you thought anglerfish were terrifying before?
Uh-huh.
Everybody just go Google male and female anglerfish. It's unreal. I believe it's our friends at the Good Job Brain podcast, I think, that first pointed this out to me, if I remember correctly, or pointed it out to their audience. It's the most nightmarishly terrifying thing you could imagine being real.
I thought so. I said they were the most terrifying creature,
And they are, but even more
but
so
I
than
didn't
you.
even understand how terrifying they are.
Yes.
What is it?
Oh, it's too good.
So sometimes when I can't fall asleep, I read about cryptids. And then when I read about cryptids, I start reading about the animals that inspired cryptids. And then I go on this marine biology like trip. But I haven't ever arrived at male and female anglerfish.
Anglerfish sex is literally vampiric parasitism.
Oh, one of those deals.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Oh,
Where
that happens a lot.
tiny little versions of the other gender latch on and become part of the blood veins, covering the body of the other with their tiny, tiny little microscopic forms. All the little ridges you see on an anglerfish, those are other anglerfish. Sexually, physically, and blood system bonded to the anglerfish.
So I was going to guess it was a sex thing,
Yeah.
but that is horrific.
Yeah, they can't let go. They're part of it. they grow into it. They become part of its circulatory system. It's really weird.
I think I had a good answer.
I think you had an excellent answer there. That was a wonderful answer. Absolutely. What's the best song written in the last 100 years?
Oh,
Yeah.
God. The best song?
Yeah, the best song written in the last 100 years.
Not my favorite song.
Nope, not your favorite. Those are different. Totally different. But
What if it's not? And the answer is Mr. Brightside.
well, Mr. Brightside's a really good song. Is that what you're going to say?
Good song.
You know what?
I feel like I should say something by Radiohead or something smart. I know you don't like Radiohead.
I like everything. I don't know what you're talking about. I just think Radiohead is a fine cover band that does excellent REM impressions.
So does that make Muse a cover band that does impressions of a cover band doing REM impressions?
Yeah, kind of.
Matt Bellamy is a second-rate Tom York. I'm gonna just say Mr. Brightside.
Okay, that's a delightful choice. It's a clever song. I like it a lot.
I love that song.
Yeah, you get answers all over the map on this.
I'm sure.
What is your favorite song? I'm curious.
My favorite song is "Someday" by The Strokes.
Ooh, that's a good choice. I like that one a lot. Next up, what's the first word you think of when you hear the sound of your own voice?
Goblin.
Goblin.
That's my trending term that I've been using to describe myself lately. It's like my new thing.
Yeah.
Is sometimes I'm like, wow, I really don't want this guy to see me without makeup because I'm a goblin.
Oh, you're not a goblin.
I don't know why I do it. It's so when I think about anything related to my own self, that's usually right now trending term. Goblin.
Goblin. All right. When I think goblin, I think the first thing I think of is Ren and Stimpy and Nose Goblin. I think that's where I go right away. Yeah, that's kind of. If you could travel through time, meet any one person, who would it be, and why?
Ooh, if I could meet any one person.
Yeah.
Just one.
Just one. That's the rule.
Only back in time.
No, you can go forward. We've had people go back 20 years and interview themselves when they're younger or impart advice. We've had people pop to the future. Do whatever you want.
Oh, yeah. My biggest time travel thing would want to be... Well, no. You know what? That used to be my biggest time travel thing was going back and like undoing my own mistakes. But now I like where I am. And so those mistakes like led me to it. So that's not my answer anymore. I think I would interview my dad.
You'd interview your dad. What age would he be when you interviewed him?
Like 17.
Like 17? Why would you want to do that?
Because my dad and I are more similar than I think I ever realized.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so drawn to that time period. My dad's really young compared to all my friends' dads, I guess, because my friends are generally older than me. My dad's almost 52. He's really young. And so like I was talking to him about how he was really into Aerosmith, and if you liked Aerosmith, you could not like Kiss. Mm-hmm. You could not listen to Kiss. And so like just like 2 years ago, he finally started listening to Kiss because he was like, oh yeah, I can do this now.
That's really funny.
And so I just want to like go back and maybe I would go a little older. Maybe I'd do like 22, like right before he meets my mom.
Okay.
I just want to know like, what are you about? Like, what's your deal?
What's this guy
My
like?
dad would like sneak out to see concerts. Like, I want to meet that dude.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, because now I realize that I am I have that spirit in me.
Yeah.
And before I was very like buttoned up, and I would go out in high school and my dad would go, don't do anything I wouldn't do. That gives you a lot of options. And I'd be like, haha, dad, I'm going to go to study group, you know?
So you'd like find 17-year-old dad and be like, I'm your daughter.
I'd be like, I love beer. Let's talk about beer for a while.
Oh my gosh. The number of... Okay. You know what? Next question. I'm just thinking about like going back and talking to my dad when he was that age. I mean, golly.
I also want to catch him before he gets... I mean, he's just like so bogged down in work now. Mm-hmm. I just want to like... So I feel like I could still talk to him about those things, right? Like I could still be like, what was it like when you were 22 when you saw this band live they're dead now and I can't see them, you know? But like, I feel like I just want to see what those answers would be like.
I'm an old man that likes old man movies. I rewatched Field of Dreams for the umpteenth time recently. One of the lines at the beginning of that, and he's talking about his father, and he says, he was already an old man when I was born. And talking about how he never knew anything but a working too hard, exhausted single parent. And that's to think about the kind of the theme of that movie is that there was somebody else there before. It's hard for us as children to imagine that.
Yeah, and like with my mom, one of the things I admire most about her is that she has always been her own person. Like she was my mom, and she's my mom, but she's also like Kathy, who happens to be my mom.
Yeah.
Who does her own things and has this rich inner life. And like my mom and I now talk a lot, and like I have like a very good relationship with her. And so not that I don't have a good relationship with my dad, but my dad and I just don't have like that like talking constantly, because he that's just not his. He doesn't want to text all the time. And now it's like we talk about Call of Duty because like we can play that together at a distance.
Okay.
And so I would just love to, rather than be like my tired dad who goes to bed at 9 and gets up and has an hour and a half commute to his software engineering job, and who's tired and who watches garbage dad TV.
Ooh, what's garbage dad TV?
Oh, like garbage. Guess how garbage.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills?
Oh, no. That's garbage mom and Kallie TV.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
He watches like terrible like sitcoms, like terrible like get canceled after a couple episodes sitcoms.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
And it's because he has to do something that'll turn his brain off, I think.
Okay.
That's my hypothesis.
All
But
right.
my point is I want to catch him. I would love to see him less tired.
Yeah,
I would
makes sense.
love to talk to him about those things and see like still like the mischievous, like, oh yeah, I snuck out and I saw Journey and it was rad.
Maybe when like you're rich, you can take him on like a month-long cruise or something and just like see like chill, relaxed dad.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Hey dad, we're gonna follow a Led Zeppelin cover band around the country. Let's go.
What's your favorite word?
Onomatopoeia.
Ooh, great word. And cake or pie?
Pie.
Well chosen. That makes up for banjo. All right. So anyway, thank you very much, Kallie, for joining us here. It means a whole lot having you on. I wanted to do this. I wanted to have you on the show since we started this. So I'm really excited.
Our schedules have just not been working out.
Worked
We
out.
finally did it.
Yay!
Thank you so much for having
We'll have you
me.
back in soon. There's some other things. You're such a radiant personality, and there's a lot of different things I'd really like to have you be able to do on the show if it's possible. So thank you for watching, listening at all, etc., supporting us in every possible way. You can mail us at mail@pocketsfullest.com. If you want to talk to this nice young person, you can do that.
You can do that on Twitter at InkyDojiko, INKYDOJIKKO. I check my notifications, so if you at me, I might respond, unless you say something mean.
In which case, probably not.
And then I won't respond.
Yeah, don't say mean things. Don't be mean. This is not a mean community.
No, I'm
Nice
confident that everyone will be nice.
All right. So thank you all very much. We'll see you next time, and bye.